Good morning, boys and girls. We are going to read another Dr. Seuss book this morning. It's called Did I Ever Tell You How Lucky You Are? And it's about staying positive, which is a good message at this point in time. When I was quite young and quite small for my size, I met an old man in the desert of Dries, and he sang me a song I will never forget. At least, well, I haven't forgotten it yet. He sat in a terribly prickly place, but he sang with the sunny, sweet smile on his face. When you think things are bad, when you feel sour and blue, when you start to get mad, you should do what I do. Just tell yourself, Ducky, you really are quite lucky. Some people are much more, oh, ever so much more, oh, muchly, much, much more unlucky than you. This book has a lot of tongue twisters in it, so I'm sure you'll be laughing at me before the end. Be glad you don't work for the Bungle Bung Bridge that they're building across Boober Bay at Bomb Bridge. It's a troublesome world. All the people who are in it are troubled with troubles almost every minute. You ought to be thankful a whole heaping lot for the places and people you're lucky you're not. There they are working on the bridge. Just suppose, for example, you lived in Gazette and got caught in the traffic on Zate Highway 8. Or suppose, for instance, you lived in Gazere with your bedroom up here and your bathroom up there. There's the bedroom and there's the bathroom, long ways in between. Suppose, just suppose, you were poor Herbie Hart, who has taken his thrum defibrillator apart. He never will get it together, I'm sure. He never will know if the gick or the gore fits into the scrux or the snucks or the snore. Yes, Ducky, you're lucky you're not Herbie Hart, who has taken his trombutilator apart. That's a big mess. Think they work you hard? Think they work you too hard? Think of poor Ali Sard. He has to mow grass in his uncle's backyard, and it's quick-growing grass, and it grows as he mows it. The faster he mows, the faster he grows it. And all this stingy old uncle will pay for his shoving that mower around in the hay is the piffuless pay of two dukeless a day, and Allie can't live on such piffuless pay. He has to paint flagpoles on Sundays and grooves. How lucky you are you don't live in his shoes. And poor Mr. Bix every morning at 6, poor Mr. Bix has Borfin to fix. It doesn't seem fair, it just doesn't seem right, but his Borfin just seems to go slump every night. It slumps in a heap, sadly needing repair. Bix figures it's due to the local night air. It takes him all day to unslump it, and then the night air comes back and it slumps once again. So don't you feel blue, don't you get down in the dumps. You're lucky you don't have a Borfin that schlumps. And while we are in it, consider the schlots, the crumple-horn, web-footed, green-bearded schlots, whose tail is entitled with unsolvable knots. If he isn't muchly more worse off than you, I'll eat my umbrella, that's just what I'll do. And you're lucky indeed you don't ride on a camel. To ride a camel, you sit on a whammel. A whammel, you know, is sort of a saddle, held on by a button that's known as a faddle. And boy, if your old whammel faddle gets loose, I'm telling you, ducky, you're gone like a goose. And poor Mr. Potter, T-crosser, I-dotter, he has to cross T's and he has to dot I's in an I and T factory out in Van Nuys. Oh, the jobs people work at out west near Hotch Hotch. There's a Hotch Hotcher bee watcher. His job is to keep both eyes on the lazy town bee. A bee that is watched will work harder, you see. Well, he watched and he watched, but in spite of his watch, that bee didn't work any harder, not much. So then somebody said, our old bee watching man just isn't bee watching as hard as he can. He ought to be watched by another hotch watcher. The thing that we need is a bee watcher. Well, look at all the men watching the bee watchers. The bee watcher watched the bee watcher. He didn't watch well, so another hotch hotcher had to come in as a watcher. And today all the hotchers who live in Hotch Hotch are watching on watching the watcher who's watching that bee. You're not a hotch watcher, you're lucky, you see. And how fortunate you're not, Professor Debris, who has spent the past 32 years, if you please, trying to teach Irish jucks how to read Javanese. And think of the poor puffing Poogle-horn players who have to parade down the Hoogle-horn stairs every morning to wake up the Prince of Pooboken. It's awful how often their poogles get broken. And just suppose you were poor Harry Hatto. Try as he will, he can't make any shadow. He thinks that perhaps something's wrong with his giz, and I think that by golly, there probably is. There he is with no shadow. And the brothers Bazoo, the poor brothers Bazoo, suppose your hair grew like theirs happened to. You think you're unlucky? I'm telling you, ducky, some people are muchly, oh ever so muchly, or muchly much more unlucky than you. And suppose that you lived in the forest in France where the average young person just hasn't a chance to escape from the perilous pants-eating plants. But your pants are safe. You're a fortunate guy, and you ought to be shouting, "How lucky am I?" And speaking of plants, you should be greatly gladdish. You're not Farmer Falkenberg's 17th radish. And you're so lucky you're not Gucky Gown, who lives by himself 90 miles out of town. In the ruins of Ronk is rather run down. And you're so lucky you're not a left sock left by mistake in the caverns of Croc. Poor socks, never going to be found. That is why I say, ducky, don't grumble, don't stew. Some critters are much, oh, ever so much, so muchly, much more unlucky than you. Okay, guys, have a good day. Get your work done. And tomorrow, I think we'll start books from a new author. Okay, we'll check out maybe some chapter books that we've been reading in the classroom. Have a good day.